Hi everyone. Thank you for connecting for our second webinar, which is a series of webinars we're going to be doing. My name is Zishan, but I am solution architect as well as Ivalua team lead at TSM, which I will be going through that. And I've got Karen Stanton from our project team who's going to be helping me take notes or any questions. If you can put them into the chat, she'll pick it up, and if it needs to be answered, we'll do that on the call, depending on how many questions are asked. So to start with today's agenda, if I just go to my presentation, I'm going to be covering Eva, which is our Ivalua virtual assistant, which is a Gen AI driven virtual assistant. I'll show you how we can use that within Ivalua platform, how useful it is with different use cases I'll go through. There are some specific contract use cases that I would like to go through today. We'll look at how we can quickly create a contract off the back of just a document. So if you're given a document, you can put that into Ivalua, and Ivalua will actually extract all of the obligations. It will extract all of that and put that onto the contract for you. All the key dates, terms, everything will be extracted automatically by Eva. So you'll see that in that one use case. And then when you've got that contract in the system, we'll show you how you can use an AI legal assistant that we have, which basically will help you draft new clauses, maybe proofread clauses. You can basically chat with the legal assistant to actually find out whether your clauses are good or not. And then once we've covered that main use case, the contract use case, then we'll look at other use cases, in particular questionnaire builder. So you'll see how we can actually quickly create a questionnaire in the system, just giving some prompt to AI, and it will just build that questionnaire for us. Obviously, you can then amend and chop and tail that questionnaire. We'll also look at category research assistant. So those of you who are already using, category management within Ivalua, this is one of the tasks category managers do. They have to be on top of the industry, see what the trends are. They might need to do a research to actually prove that there are no disruptions or issues or regulatory, new requirements coming into the market, into that region, which may affect their category. So we'll look at how AI can actually help you do that research very quickly. We'll also look at how we can use AI to discover new supplies. So when you're on a sourcing event, you need to go out and look for new supplies. Sometimes it can be difficult to find who is the best supplier to engage with. You may have your approved supplies, but how you can engage with new suppliers. So we'll look at how AI can actually help you find new supplies, not just from within your database, but also from outside, regionally as well. Then we'll look at a few other add-ons which are not AI driven, but they are something. There was a gap in Ivalua where we can actually record any changes against a contract. Well, you can record changes against a contract in a document, but not on the metadata or the actually key dates. So I'll show you how we can use that add-on to actually record the changes. We'll also look at contract termination workflow, because at the moment we have a contract termination option, but it doesn't really trigger any authorization. Usually people want to do some sort of authorization before a contract is terminated. So we'll see how we can use that as well. And then at the end, we'll cover intake management, meaning how your internal users can actually request a contract to be set up in the system, and your contract managers then actually can see that request and then process that request. And we'll see how the end user then actually can see the visibility of where they are with the contract creation process. And we'll cover two types of intake. One is called an intake form, which is a free of charge version for our existing clients. And then there is a new module that has come out, which is an advanced intake management solution. which gives you better visibility, and that is something for new users, new clients we can also use. And lastly, I will be going through some general tips and tricks, not just contract management tips and tricks, but generally platform even. Okay, some of the tricks and tips that I can give you, how you can better use your Ivalua system at the moment. So with this, I'm gonna start with those use cases. Just gonna minimize this. Okay, let me just move this here. Okay, so the first use case is quick contract creation. The way it works is that you would, normally how you would just go and create a contract. I can go in there. So let me just create that new contract. So when you create a new contract, an AI will actually will look at it and say, okay, by the way, you're going to start creating a new contract. So it's telling me, hi there. It seems that you are interested in creating a new contract. I can help you with that. And it's asking me, okay, how do you want to start creating that contract? Do you have a preference, meaning you have a document, meaning that it can then extract the document? Usually you would want to use this. You can also use a template, meaning that you can say, okay, it's a backup of template, so you don't have a document, but you want to actually select a template and then start drafting a contract. But I'm going to use this because obviously usually you'll get a document from a supplier, and you would want to upload that. So it's telling me, okay, you can drag and drop the file here, or you can just use this icon to upload, which I'm going to do. I've got an example Dell agreement. I'm going to use that. And as soon as I do that, it will start, scanning that document. You can see it's now scanning it. It might take a few seconds to actually scan it. You can see that it's scanned it. It's now telling you, now I'm checking the data extracted. It's extracted some dates, key dates. It's also extracted the contract type. So let me just let it just finish. So let me just go up a bit. So as soon as when I uploading the document, it then basically scan that document. Okay. Then it actually checked the extracted document. It looked at the whole detail behind that. Okay. And then it's sort of telling you, okay, by the way, thank you. I've actually figured out what the start date is and the end date is from the contract document that it looked at. It's also figured out that it's more of a simple agreement. It's not a other type of agreement. You could have different types of agreement, and if you have that in there somewhere in the document, it can also recognize that. If it doesn't recognize that, it will give you a prompt to actually select a contract template. It will say, okay, by the way, I can't figure out what type of document that is. Can you tell me what that is? And you'll be able to actually select that. It's also recognized it's for this legal entity. But if it can't recognize the legal entity, it will actually ask you to actually select the legal entity. It's also recognized the supply, which is a key thing on the contract. It's also telling you, okay, these are the information I'm going to use, okay, for any necessary information going forward. And it's then what it's done is it's actually created a label for the contract based on the contract name or whatever. It's actually created a new contract. So it's basically telling me, okay, it will also do is it will also check for duplicates, because last thing you want is to create a document again or contract again. So it's checked for the duplicates in the system as well. And it says, I've searched for possible duplicate, but I couldn't find a duplicate in the system. And hence I've actually created a new contract for you. So it's a hyperlink. I can go and look at that contract. So if I just open up another window, you'll see that it's actually created that document, a contract for me. You can see it's extracted the key dates, the legal entity, everything is actually extracted. Okay. So I'm going to go back and see what else we can do. So next is telling me, okay, it's all good for the metadata, of extracted dates and the key information. How do you want to actually author the document that you give? So because you may need to actually negotiate the terms or the key key terms in the document. Okay. So I'm going to say is I'm going to use native authoring. Why I'm going to be using native authoring? Because I can then show you how if you were using native authoring, how you can use AI to actually draft clauses. And because if it's all in Word, you can't really use AI if it's in Word. So I'm going to skip that. I'm going to do native authoring. And what it's going to do is it's going to basically add that document. automatically that you uploaded to the contract. Okay. Now what it's doing is extracting the negotiated terms. So using CDC module that we have, contract data capture, it's actually extracted and it's basically telling me these are the different key terms. So you've got 60 days from receipt, payment terms. Is there any questions? Sorry, Karen, I saw your message.
No, it's fine. I think I've answered it. The question was about, can Eva extract more than the contract metadata that's shown on the screen? And I was saying, yes, it can be linked to the clause library, which is where you've just got to.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. Now, what it's done is it's actually looked at what clauses you have in the system. And it's actually, next one, I'm going to show you how you can actually flag it as a risk if it doesn't match with the master clauses. Okay. But at this stage, it's actually extracted the key negotiated terms. You can see penalties, what currency we're going to have a contract in, what's the warranty period. So all of that information is actually extracted for you. And then it's telling you, okay, do you want me to actually create a summary and tell you or suggest what you should be negotiating? Yeah. So I can say, okay, yes, tell me what the risk of these clauses is, summarize this to me and with recommendation basically. Okay. So hopefully you'll come back with some useful tips for you to actually have it with you to actually go back when you start negotiating it. Okay, so now it's telling me, okay, I've looked at the contract. This is a summary of the contract. There are key terms and obligations. And what it's saying is that, okay, the service and, for example, service and warranty clause is saying Dell must deliver services with trained staff and ensure quality and compliance. The risk is identified is that short warranty period may expose you to post-service defects. So maybe it's only 60 days warranty period, which isn't enough, it's telling you. The recommendation from him is, AI, is extend the warranty duration. And you can see there are other things like, for example, payment within 60 days, so maybe reduce the payment time frame. I don't know, So all of these recommendations are there. Like, for example, intellectual property ownership. Yeah, it's telling you the risk could be potentially on that if they have developed that. So clarify IP assignment terms and conditions. So all of these recommendations you can take. That's fine. And then finally, it says, you want me to take to the document. So I'll say, yeah, take me directly to the document that I want to draft. And this is your document, obviously. This is the document that you uploaded. Now, what the system has done is on the top, I've got 15 high risk clauses in there, simply because I've actually uploaded a very unknown document with a lot of errors in there, just to show you how it works, okay? Usually what will happen, it will tell you, okay, you have only X number of high risk clauses, some are low risk clauses, but what all it's trying to do is trying to compare this clause with our master clauses, approved clauses that we have in the system. So, for example, if I look at, expenses and documentation clause, okay, it's telling me that it's 99% confident that it is an expense clause. So if I just click on that, it's telling me that it's actually a payment clause, okay, based on what I've got, okay. But it's also found some similar clauses, and it's telling you these are the differences from the clause that you have on your document. So it's telling you, okay, this is the clause you have in your document, but this is how you've used in the past. So it's suggesting you straight up that these are the things are not in your clause, in your documents clause, and you should maybe look to actually review it. If you think that you want to replace this clause with the clause that we have, okay, you can just simply say, okay, yeah, I want to replace it with this clause, and the system will automatically add that clause for you. So you're basically suggesting a new change, okay? What you can also do is, and as soon as you replace this clause with the clause that you have from the master clause library, you can see the risk has changed. The risk has changed from high to very low now. So this could be an indicator for you to actually see whether you're drafting it correctly or the supplier has given the right clauses or not, which can be very useful. What you can also do is when you're drafting your document is you can actually ask Eva or AI assistant to actually proofread it. So for example, let's say insurance clause, yeah? I don't know if this is correct. I can say, can you can you proofread for me? Yeah, so it will basically look at it and then come up with suggestions. So it's actually rewritten it and actually created. And the way it does rewrite it is actually looks at your clauses in the system, yeah, and sees what's the best wording for that clause, okay? And it's actually created that, and you can see it's done all the redlining because obviously it can do all of that, but somebody needs to approve these changes. What I can also do is I can get help from Eva to draft a new clause. Let's say there's a clause that you need to draft. You don't know what wording you need to do. So I can say, okay, can you insert a clause? And then once I've inserted the clause, I can use the legal assistant, okay? And I can tell it to actually draft a new clause. So in this instance, I'm going to say, maybe create a security clause. So I'm going to say, can you add a security clause for me? And then it will go and look at the clauses that we have in the system. If it finds a clause in the system, it will suggest you in there. If not, it will go out and basically based on what it knows, the LLM it has, it will just use that and you can insert that clause. If I set to it, let's say create an insurance clause, maybe. Although I've got the insurance clause on the top there, what I wanted to show you was that if you're actually creating a similar clause, the clause that you already have in the system, it will actually tell you the sources to the clause. It's basically telling me I'm actually created that clause for you. However, I'm actually using the content from a master clause. So you should be sure that, yeah, it's used that information. So I'm not going to do that for now. Actually, I'll just insert it for now. That's fine. Okay. And you can add more clauses. You can add master clauses. For example, if you want to add a new clause from your clause library, let's say it's this clause, and it could be multilingual as well. It doesn't need to be. You can look at the clause. It could be in different languages. This one is in English, but it could be in different languages as well. So once you've drafted that. Before I actually submit this, I want to show you something. So at this stage, it has extracted all the obligations and everything, yeah? And the way it's going to show up, if I look at the document, the contract document that is extracted and the service is used. So you can see this was the document that was on my, still a draft stage. If I look at this, it's actually extracted the key terms. So these are the key terms. The CDC module has extracted. I can also see there are obligations. It's extracted from the document, okay, automatically. On a high level, if I want to look at something, for example, tell me all the clauses with an obligation. I don't know, confidentiality of agreement, or let's see if I know one. Order right is the one you should have. There you go. So now it comes back with all the contracts which has that obligation. And I can go in there and it clearly highlights, okay, it's got this obligation clause. You can see it's on there. All of that information is there. What the system will do is when I submit this document, it will extract those obligations and put it onto the contract record as well for you to then assign to the supplier or whatever you want to do. Okay, so I've submitted this. You can see it's actually going through a workflow which you all are familiar with. Those of who are using Ivalua. Those of you who do not use Ivalua, we have a workflow. You can see once you've actually created a contract, it will go through a review initially, supply review, internal review, and only when it's signatured, then it becomes a contract document in the system. But if I just go back to the actual contract, and if I go to negotiated terms, you'll see that all of the information has been extracted, the key terms from the document, warranty terms and everything. But it's also what it's done is it's actually added those key obligations, those 10 obligations from that document. It's automatically added here. Now, this uses Ivalua's improvement plan or collaboration plan, we call it, the new module, which all it is extracted those obligations. And then, let's say license grant, for example, I go in there, and all it is actually a plan, okay? You can start collaboration with the supplier if you need it, using comments option there, or you can assign them tasks. So you can say, okay, as far as this obligation is concerned, you need to do X, Y, Z. So you can assign it to somebody to do that. Obviously, you have to have a supply context set up in order to assign them. But you can create certain tasks that you may need to do for that obligation to be completed. Okay, so all of that can be done, which sort of covers, I think, our first use case. If I just bring it back here. Yeah, so we've covered that one. Any questions, Karen?
No more at the moment. Thanks, Hisham.
Okay, perfect. So not only it actually adds those obligations to the obligations section, you also have a holistic view of all the obligations in the system, okay? You also have a dashboard. Unfortunately, this isn't working for my demo environment, but you can see that if I just show you that very quickly. This dashboard will also show you, it doesn't have a data, but it's meant to be showing you any obligations that are coming to be renewed, any obligations that somebody needs to action. So all of that is in the dashboard as well. As well as I can see details behind the obligation as well. You can see when the obligation was created, whether it's in draft status, meaning that it's not been sent to the supply, are there any exceptions, any penalties, it automatically extracts, and we can adjust how it actually does the penalty thing. We can look at that as well. So you can see that it's got that option as well. So the next thing I want to look at is I want to look at a few other AI use cases. Okay, this next use case we're going to look at is the second one is questionnaire builder. So this is where if you want to create a questionnaire, but you don't really know how to actually start, okay, you probably need some help from AI to actually start maybe a draft questionnaire for you, and then you can then make changes to that. Yeah, sometimes it's not easy to create a questionnaire from scratch. So what you can do is when you're creating your questionnaire templates, okay, so I'm going to go into one. Let's say you want to create a new type of questionnaire. Maybe it is, let's say, GDPR questionnaire. You can provide description. As much as description you provide, it'll be easy for the AI to actually to see what exactly you want to do. So at this stage, I'm going to say it's an information request type of questionnaire, and then I'm going to say I'm going to give it an instruction. So you can see I've got a generate template option. So I'm going to give it an instruction. So I'm going to say, can you generate me a GDPR compliance questionnaire covering data collection, processing, data subject rights, all of that information that I know, okay? Don't need to do this one. I can say just create a questionnaire for me based on that. Now, by default, what it does, it actually uses a different field. So it uses the description of the campaign. It uses the description here as well. So as much as information you can put in there, it will actually use that information to generate that questionnaire. So you can see that at this stage, I don't really have any questionnaire here. Okay, so I'm going to ask AI to actually create that questionnaire based on the prompt that I've given it to. And hopefully it wouldn't let me down, and it'll come back with something.
While you're waiting for that to come back, Hisham, one of the questions was, does Eva automatically extract the obligations for the contract? And I'd answered it with yes, Eva uses AI, looks for and extracts the obligations as they relate to clauses, but I'll let you further expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ivalua has about set of obligations that is extracted. It tries to actually extract those and match those with the existing obligations that we have. You can also add custom obligations as well. But yeah, Ivalua will extract all those obligations and can actually create the task for you as well. So at this stage, you can see that it's actually, you don't need to worry about what it's done here. It's just something it creates to actually create the questionnaire. So it's generated that. If I go to that, you can see it's actually created that questionnaire for me based on the prompt. So I told it to actually go and create something based on data collection, data processing, data subject rights. So it's actually gone out and actually thought, okay, these are the questions that I should have. Okay, it's also created 2 sections for me. So this could be like I'm not saying this would be, okay, it's all created and you just get on with it. It's a starting point for somebody who doesn't know what type of questionnaire I should be building. Okay, and it's actually, so then you can go in and help out. Okay, actually it's a required field. Maybe it's got some linkage to other questions. If I say yes to this question, then it needs to be filled in. So all of that dependencies and everything can be built in. You can also preview the questionnaire, how the questionnaire is going to look like. All of that information you can look at before you actually submit that. So that's this use case. The second use case is category management. So Ivalua have a category management solution, and AI can be used to actually manage that category, do your own research. There are some, Porter's 5 forces research. Those of you who are familiar with that, Ivalua can do all of that research for you automatically. But I wanted to give you some idea to how Ivalua category management is. You can see as a category manager, I am basically maintaining one category, which is assigned to me. There are about 9 cost drivers that I'm basically tracking on that. It's the risk of the category is medium. If I look at all the categories, I could just go in from here, but I'm just going to show you. You can see all of these, and they are on every level of the category. So it could be on level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. But if I search for the one that I was doing some research, you can see if I go in there, it's telling me that these are the different cost drivers. So I need to watch out for raw material cost, labor cost, there's transport cost. There are different cost drivers. This is how much I've spent against that category across different supplies. Okay, I can see, and these are drillable. I can look at the data behind that. It can tell you, for Del France, for example, this is how much I've spent. Again, regionally, you can see how much I've spent against that category and any other KPIs. So, for example, any sourcing event against that category, any supplies that are qualified by that commodity, any savings plans, any contracts that are linked to that category, any prices that I have from that for that category. And then high-level information. Okay, is there a critical? Who's managing it from your end? Okay, is there any documentation I should have against that category? For example, market, dynamics, Porter's 5 forces. I've got a document. Last research I've done, I actually put that on there. Again, I talked about savings. You can manage the savings. We have a different savings module. We might do another webinar for that, but yeah, category savings, we have that. Suppliers who are qualified. So you can see all of these suppliers are qualified for this category. Okay, these are all those suppliers. These are all the contracts that are linked to that category. Okay. Also some prices I talked about. These are all the prices that I have with their carbon emissions. If we're looking at that as well, you can see that all of that information is there against that category at a 360 overview. And any other analysis, KPIs that we talked about. But the key thing I wanted to go through today was not just showing you what the category management module does, but also how you can use AI to actually do those category research in the system on a click of a button. So I've already done this just so that help you with the AI. It takes a while for the AI to actually go and do the research, so it can take a while. So I've already rebuilt it. So you can see that is actually the first one is price trend. So all I did was I clicked on that option and it came back with all the price trends for this category. Same for supply disruptions. Okay, so all of these with references to where it's actually got that information from. Any regulatory changes coming our way, we should be aware of. Okay, any compliance changes that we should be aware of, data security wise, all of that for that category. I can even do my own research. So this is what I've done. I said, okay, can you research trends in the UK, India, and China market? Because maybe that's where I buy most of my stuff from for this category. And it's actually come back with some suggestions. It's saying, the end of Windows 10 support is coming to an end. Maybe it's linked to the computers thing. Chinese market is getting recovery because of geopolitical political tension. So all of that research it does, and it comes back for you to review it. Obviously, you can print it as a PDF and everything. But what you can also do is you can actually further chat with AI. So you can say, okay, by the way, you've done this research, but I want to ask some questions. So then it tells me, okay, hello, okay, category manager, I have read the content of the research, that you've done. Feel free to ask me questions further. So I could say, okay, can you tell me, in particular, to UK, are there any upcoming, or actually, this is what I did last time. Can you give me side-by-side comparison of India and China markets? And it's brilliant. It just looks at the data that it's actually researched, and it's actually giving me a side-by-side comparison, okay, of that two markets that I asked them to do. And again, you can keep on going and ask questions, or sort of interactive, basically. This is the one that actually many people have asked in the past, Porter's 5 forces. To be honest, I don't know anything about that. I'm not a category manager, but those of you who know, who manage categories, this is like the gold standard, of research within the category research that many people do. And you can see that it's actually done that automatically for us. So it looks at rivalry among competitors, when it looks at that, there are different details. This whole research is done based on that Porter's 5 forces, okay? And then again, you can download it, put it in a document, put it in here if needed as well. So that's this use case. The last AI use case I wanted to go through with you guys was the supplier research, so supply discovery, so to speak. So this is where if you were using sourcing, and in the sourcing module, if I just open up one sourcing event, so you can see Ivalua sourcing is very comprehensive. You can do internal requirement gathering if it's a strategic sourcing event. I'm just going through that very quickly for people who are new to Ivalua. And you can see Ivalua can actually cover double envelope, triple envelope, spot bid. There are different types of tendering or sourcing events it can do. Generally, in a strategic sourcing event, you do a requirement gathering. You have a schedule, and you can set up all those parameters. So, for example, you can go through requirement gathering. You can actually have a task list or a schedule. You can define the currencies. You can define the team members who's going to be on there. And then you can do your RFX and RFP and all that. But before you actually go and do the RFQ process, generally you need to actually find who you're going to engage with. Who are the suppliers you're going to engage with, your first RFI, then round 2, round 3. You need to have that list ready. Normally people, what they do is they have a pre-approved list. So you can see I have a pre-approved list suppliers I've already added to my sourcing event, and which is based on existing data I have for my suppliers. So for example, based on these key factors, okay, I've actually selected them because I know them, they're known to me, but that's not good enough because sometimes you need to go out to market and find a new supply and engage with them. You might be missing out on good prices, yeah? So what you can do is you can use Eva, and initially what it does, it actually looks at your sourcing event and actually tries to suggest you from the database, from your previous events maybe, okay? So what it's done is it went in and says, okay, I can see you're trying to do a tender for this, and I can see the sourcing event that you're doing and everything. Let me suggest you supplies based on the information we have within your database. Yeah, so it's telling me, okay, based on what I know, you should look for this supply. You should look to add these 3 suppliers as well. Invite them to this sourcing event. Why? Because they have been awarded in the past multiple times for service. Okay, so which is a good reason you should not be excluding them. You should be inviting them for this bid as well. So that's looking at your landscape within the system itself. But what you can say is, okay, yeah, I've looked at that suggestion. I'm fine with that. I want you. I don't want to onboard them. I don't want to add them to my list here. But I want you to go out externally and look for potential supplies. I say yes. Please go out and look for potential supply. Now, as soon as I said that, it's telling me, okay, by the way, is there anything in particular I should look for when I'm looking for supplies? So I'm going to give it a prompt. I'm going to say, okay, look for supplies. So this is a prompt I'm going to give, and it could be any prompt. So look for supplies from India and China with this particular certification. Why I put that in? Because you don't want anyone from the list. Yeah, you probably want somebody who is certified to standards that you actually need. Okay, and AI will actually narrow down. So I'm going to say that, okay, yeah, look for that, and it's going to go and look for those supplies, and going to come back with a short list. Okay, no sufficient data is telling me. Let me just try it again. Do you want to select? I'd like to search again. Actually, I'm going to do a blank. Try it again. Sometime I can't find, or maybe I've selected a wrong certification. I don't know. Or I could do a blank search to see if it comes back. Okay, maybe not. So let me just try it again. I'm going to just do a blank search. See what it comes back.
While it's looking, Zishan, there was a question that I couldn't answer
Yeah.
myself, and it was from Mark, and he said, on the savings, how does it identify that a contract can deliver savings? Is it based on the contract coming up for renewal? Does it have an algorithm to classify it if it's a contract negotiation is savings or avoidance, and is there any rules? It might be a bit of a big question to answer in this session, but if you want to have a look, you might be able to help.
Yeah. I mean, it can do, but savings module, when we come to do that separately, it is a very basic module. It's just recording how much budget versus, how much you spend versus actual, and it's more like a report. So yeah, we can come back to it in more detail if you want, Karen.
Yeah, we'll follow up that one with you, Mark, if that's okay. Might need a bit more of a discussion.
Okay, so it kind of didn't like the last prompt, so apologies for that. But the idea was for it to actually come back with suggestions from outside the world. Yeah, so it will basically go on and actually show you and basically suggest you supplies that it actually found outside. Okay, and then you can onboard them and you can include them in here as well. Okay, so that was the last AI use case. Next couple of things I want to show you is the different add-ons that are available. Contract change request is one of them. What it allows you to do is if I go to browse contract and look for a signed one, what it allows you to do is allows you to actually create a change request, which I've already got one here, but what it does is allows you to actually create that. So let's do this one. So. And this is to actually record changes of the metadata, not the changes to the document, because the changes to the document is all tracked already. You have version history and everything. This is where you need to change some key fields. Like, for example, some of you may have added extra fields. We normally would include that in that add-on, but this is just my demo system, so you can see that. So let's say change of renewal type and dates. Okay, so I'm going to say this is actually, it's not going to be renewed, but I want an alert, or maybe I want to change the date. So it's going to be not to 2030, it's going to be ending on 2020. 2027, end of 2027, July, let's say. Okay. And then once I've made that, I can just submit it for approval. And what it does is not only you can change this, you can also change the price, all of that. It tracks the changes for me. So it's telling me, okay, the old price for the date was this, new price is this. The old value for renewal type was nothing, but you've changed it to no renewal. And it's got a workflow, and workflow can be whatever we want. So I'm going to approve this for now. And you can see once I approve that, changes are on here. And I can also see the workflow change history. So you can see this was the first change I'd made previously, and this is a change I've made just now. Okay, and I can look at the whole history behind the change as well. Okay, so that's contract change request. Similarly, we had issues around looking at contract termination. So historically, what was happening was that you could go onto a contract, and all you had was a date field here. Okay. Now what Ivalua have done is you can also have a termination contract workflow. So what it does is you just put in the date and the reason that those two fields were already there before. And then once you actually submit this, it goes through a workflow. So usually it needs to be authorized by the contract owner, then the legal team. Once they've authorized it, then it's finally terminated, and the supplier can be sent a notification automatically. So that's just very simple add-on that we can install for you and set up to actually have a termination thing on. You can't attach a document at this stage, but we can add that option in there if needed. So, I mean, Nella, you know how flexible Ivalua is. We should be able to add an attachment control there for you if you need it. Okay. Moving on, the last use cases I have is the intake process. So we have two types of intakes available. So for existing customers, Ivalua are still giving out the old intake form version. So you can actually, it's a free, the only reason why it's giving it out to existing customer is because it's free of charge. They're already using the system, so they are giving that. But for any new customers, they want them to use the new intake form process, So I'll cover both of them. The free of charge intake form, if I just go in, it's just a form, and you'll see what the difference is between just the intake, the free of charge version, and the AI one, or the more with visibility one. Apologies, this has timed out. Let me just show you the AI one first, or the new version first. So the new intake form or intake management solution comes with a dashboard. And apologies, the dashboard isn't actually coming up in my demo system, but it's sort of to give you high-level overview of, okay, how much you spent so far, average life cycle for the intake, how many are in progress, how many are completed. So it's more like a KPI type for an intake manager, okay? And then also, similar to a standard one, you also have the intake request option, okay? So you can create a new request, and you can say, okay, different types. Those of you who are already using the free of charge version, you'll see similar. So let's say you want to request a contract, and this is a new service agreement, hotel. And you can put description in, which is the legal company, basic information. So it's a master agreement. And this is somebody who is actually requesting a contract to be set up. Okay. So yeah, for Dell Inc., we need to set this up, and the start date is, and the end date is probably this. They can attach a document, which I can do as well. And they can save this. And the new thing with with the new intake form is the requester has better visibility. So they may not be actually negotiating a contract. They may not be actually creating a new contract in the system. They may not be doing any of that. Contract managers are doing it, but they want some sort of visibility to what's happening at that end, yeah, as a requester. So they can submit this intake form. So as soon as they submit this intake form, it will need to be the process kickstarts. You may have an intake authorization process. We can also have that in here, okay? But in my demo system, as soon as you create the authorization and everything, it happens in the contract management solution. But we can also have it here. So, like for example, Nella, you were asking questions, and I know you have a workflow. That workflow can be built in here, and once the workflow has been approved, only then a contract is created off the back of that request. Okay. And then going forward, you can see as a requester, I have complete visibility. I can even message. So for example, looks like Zishan is drafting that contract at this stage. I can even message him. I can say, by the way, well, hurry up, how long it's going to be or whatever. I can message him from my intake, yeah, directly. Once it progresses, so if I just open up this into another window, I'd have to click on it actually. If I click on it, it opens up. You can see it's actually started the workflow. So it's still in the draft stage. So, and you can see that it's actually captured the document as well. You can see the document has come through as well. So I'm going to submit this for negotiation for now, let's say, and then start drafting the contract. If I just close this. So you can see now the status has changed. The status has changed from draft to negotiation step now, and it's and as a requester who is it with, and if you want to message any one of them, you can message them as well to say where they are, when it's going to be. So to me, it's more visibility with the new intake form, and Ivalua is also introducing AI-driven use cases, which I can cover maybe in the next sessions, where basically all of that what I've shown you at the start of the process, you can start with a document as well on the intake as well. Okay, so you upload a document as a requester, it will capture all these key information for you automatically, and you can submit that. So that's coming as well. The other one is the free of charge. A free of charge one is similar. The only thing is it doesn't give you that visibility. So for example, I could create a new request. So I'm going to just create one actually, just to show you. I'm going to create a new request, which is similar. It's just that it's more clicks for you, I guess. It's not one pager. So I'm going to request a contract to be set up. To be a new contract. And new contract. Dell Inc. Contract type. Yes, it's a master agreement. And you don't need to fill every information, but. And then you can submit for approval. And you can see it's got a workflow. It might go to somebody to approve this. And once it's fully approved, only then a contract will be created. The difference is you only have a link to the contract. You don't have any further. So if you were a requester and you didn't have any visibility to the contract, what's happening with the contract, yes, you can see it maybe, but it's not going to give you full visibility. So that visibility is in here, and the chat functionality as well, which is quite kind of good as well. Okay. Okay. Lastly, I wanted to go through some tips and tricks with you guys. So there are general tips. Once AI is enabled within your system, you can use it as a co-pilot. Yeah. So let me just refresh this page. You can use it as a co-pilot. You don't need to. You can ask it to do anything. I mean, when I say anything, you can ask it to actually come back with any suggestion. So like you would use a co-pilot. It's not going to update any information from a chat functionality without a skill, but there are skills in there. So like, for example, create a contract, quick contract creation. So all of those things that I went through with you, but it doesn't need to be a skill they need to use. You can just ask the questions. You can say, okay, actually, can you summarize a document for me? It could be any document. It doesn't need to be this document. So I can say, okay, have a look at this document. Okay, it's going to give me a summary. Okay, I can see this here. And I can say, okay, can you pull key obligations and terms for me? And it will extract that information. There you go. And I could ask it to do, I could say, okay, can you create a nice chart for me? It'll just, using that information, obviously, you'd have to tell them. So it will then create that chart for you, if needed. So you can conversate, you can do it. It could be an email proofreading. You can put an email in there and it will proofread that for you. So that information you can use to chat functionality. You may have not realized there are some, messages. If you have any messages, you can go and look at that. There are pending validation, meaning that anything that you need to do, and you can do some of the tasks in bulk as well. Not some people are not aware of that. Some of the tasks, let's say you've assigned to, you can actually bulk validate or bulk refuse as well. You can even delegate to somebody bulk. So sometimes it's useful. Sometimes you need to do that. Let's say you're going on leave and you just want to pass some of this to some colleagues. You can do that, or you can also set your stand-in. And stand-in, I'll show you in a minute. But not only that, you can also look at scheduled tasks. So these are tasks that you may have got assigned from RFP process. You may have got assigned from savings action tracker. It could be any task. And these tasks, what you can do is you can export them and put them into your calendar if you need it. So it creates a calendar thing. I bet some of you didn't know that, but if you have tasks in the system, you can put them to your calendar as well. There's no automatic synchronization, obviously, but you can actually add that task onto your Outlook if you needed to. Okay. You can also set defaults. I've seen sometimes people do not set their defaults, and every time they have to select certain things. Like for example, the useful defaults you can set is if you're using full source to pay. I would say even creating a contract or set your main legal entity. Yeah, so at least or department at least that is automatically filled in for you. Okay, set your delivery place so that it doesn't it will automatically come up if you're creating a requisition maybe. Okay. Set your cost center and commodity. It will help you if you only deal with that mostly, and also your preferences. Sometimes you think that it's okay if you're in a different region. You can set your preferences even here. You can even set your preferences on different devices. So, for example, you can say, okay, if I'm using this website on a mobile device, show me the mobile equivalent version. Okay. Or maybe you not want to do that. You maybe want to look at it as a desktop mode. That's up to you how you want to do that. Okay. And tablet and vice versa. There are other things like people who want to use it in a contrast mode. You can do that. So, for example, I could set it to that, and it will change the whole setting based on that, if you prefer. What you can also do is you can set stand-ins. So, for example, you can delegate. You can say, I want to give this person from this date and this date, okay, to be able to actually delegate my task. And could be that from this date onward, maybe after that, somebody else is delegating for me. So you can do that. Okay. Now you can also delegate somebody private access. We do not suggest. Sometimes you have to, like if this is a PA, you may want to delegate that to them. Okay. On contracts, when you creating a contract, always set renewal type and the dates. The reason why this is a really good tip, because I've seen many people skip that. If you do not set a negotiation date or if you do not set a notification date, you will not get any reminder from the system. Okay, so it defeats the purpose. If you don't set a negotiation date or a notification, you wouldn't get an email to say you need to actually start negotiating a contract. Okay, so it's very useful, always helpful to actually do that. Some of the other things you may not be aware of.
Just give me a time check, Zishan. You've only got a couple of minutes left.
Oh, sorry. Okay, cheers. Just very quickly on the document section. Now many people use this feature I've seen where you can actually look at on a holistic view where you are with your contract, different documents there. So you can actually look at it based on different types. So you could say, okay, tell me all the documents that I have for Delink, for example. And for that type of document, it will tell you all these documents that I have for this supplier. And you can see which status they are in, and so on and so forth. You can download documents. Another thing that not many people look at is this option here, exclude attachment. So by default, Ivalua searches not just for contract description, it also searches within the documents that you've attached. Sometimes it can take a while. Sometimes you don't want to use that. So you can exclude that, meaning that it will not look into the actual documents that you have. It will just look at the metadata. With that, I would like to thank you. I think I've covered all of that. Lastly, just for 1 minute, I wanted to go through, okay, if you were to actually, let's say you come back and say, okay, Zishan, I want to actually start looking at these add-ons that you showed me. I really like them. You got to be aware of certain things. So some of these add-ons, they are from a certain version, so you may need to actually upgrade, okay? And we'll share this slide with you guys later on, but you may need to upgrade to a particular version if you want to use one of the features I showed you. Some may require a license, like for example, the obligation extraction thing that we showed you, where it actually creates those obligations. It requires a CDC module, intake management. The rest of them were add-ons with some implementation. Some are like just import and implement an add-on. We set it up for you. Some may require some workflow changes. Some may require some implementation. So I thought I'll just let you know. And next one we're going to do is sourcing focus enhancement AI, and we'll share this with you guys. But we'll be doing this next couple of add-ons. So thank you very much for your time.